Now that Andor has wrapped up, I'm going to try this week to get into rewatching some old Star Wars content. Not get into the sequels or anything like that. Probably about as far as I'll go into the Disney canon will definitely be Andor and maybe Rogue One if I'm feeling particularly adventurous. But yeah, I really do, okay? Because at time of recording, okay, I think the finale just wrapped up, so I guess you can kind of figure out when I'm recording this, and, depending on when it's released, I'll have listened to a bunch of different breakdowns on it, and hopefully it's something I can look forward to, because I've heard great things about season 1, and so far, outside of a little bit of a shaky start with season 2, first arc notwithstanding, it's been some tremendous stuff, and especially episodes 7, 8, and 9. Hopefully 10, 11, and 12 stick the landing. It's tough to tell with immediate reactions that are out there. There's just a bunch of simps at time of recording, but yeah, from what I'm seeing, and especially with the interviews, the very hyperbolic ones that get spun out by the people that think that hating Disney Star Wars is a personality trait, not unlike the same people on the other side of the aisle who think that their skin color is their defining characteristic. It's just the conversation around Andor is so insane because, yeah, for the first arc, what was it all about? Yeah, one defining scene with Bix, and then with the second arc, oh my god, lesbians kissing at the end and just missing out on all of the context, bro. It's just, there's some people that are just too stupid to fucking breathe, let alone adequately watch a show that requires you to engage more than 6% of your computing capacity. Because when they hear something like, oh, undocumented aliens, okay, illegal people, they immediately jump to modern day sensibilities. And yeah, okay, I understand you, okay, I get where you're coming from. Disney, and specifically Lucasfilm, has been very heavy-handed with the message, okay, but you have a track record with Andor, you have a track record with Tony Gilroy. Is this something that he has been doing before? Is this something that he puts in his creation? Not really, man. So if you're out there and you're looking for the Trump allegories, I'm sure you're going to find them. If you immediately hear oppressive regime and you immediately hop on Trump, like, I think that's kind of a you problem. Because as far as I can tell, there's a lot of World War I and World War II, and hell, even if you want to evoke the OT, you got a lot of Vietnam allegory that you can draw out of this. But modern deist shit, like, there are people latching onto the fact that Mon Mothma said genocide, and it's like, oh my god, because there's one of those that people talk about going on right now. Really? That's your insight on this one. But then these are also, the same people that think that there needs to be a space word for grape. But Andor creator says Star Wars series is not the commentary on modern politics. Exactly. And like I said, everything that I hear about this, great character work, interesting plotting, and top tier dialogue. This is why I love stories. Okay, it's a big reason why I'm a huge fan of Lord of the Rings. It's not for the big bombastic battles, and hell, when I say that the Two Towers is my favorite chapter of that one, how I'd rather refer to it as just one coherent work, you might think that it has something to do with, specifically Helm's Deep, but no, it's realistically Aragorn becoming the man who he's eventually going to become at the end of the trilogy, really accepting that role, and then of course the introduction of a lot of the people from Rohan, as well as, Theoden King, my personal favorite character in the entire trilogy, and the journey that Frodo and Sam go on, Sam really coming into his own, Frodo really falling into the corruption of the ring, Gollum, oh my god, actually kind of got an Andor tie-in with this one. Andy Serkis's portrayal of Gollum, not a lot of action goes on, he gets the shit kicked out of him by Faramir's company. There are a fair few potent, are they monologues or dialogues, because he's having them between a split personality, but I digress. I'm much more of a character and dialogue type of guy. I've never been one for, the big bombastic stupid battles, because a lot of them are just worthless. Now, take a look at the Hobbit trilogy, and there's a bunch of big dumb battles that look very impressive, okay? Some of that CGI still holds up 10 years on, but in general, you're kind of missing out on what makes the Lord of the Rings battles so spectacular. The Battle of Pelennor Fields, all set up by Theoden being a competent, rousing leader, seeing how Gandalf, also in Minas Tirith, is a tremendous leader, and then, of course, fleshing out and having the conclusion of the story of Eowyn and Mary taking on the Witch King. And it's like, whenever I watch the extended trilogy, just a little bit more of a sidebar on this one before we get back into Star Wars here, I just get more appreciation for the characters because the deeper you delve, the more rewarding it is. Like, I never really thought of most of the Hobbits prior to really engaging with Lord of the Rings at the tail end of last year and then going into this year. But I've got a really strong appreciation for Sam and, of course, Frodo. And that was always generally the case, but they were always at the lower of my rankings. But Sam very much has rocketed up. And then also Mary, which I never thought that I'd say, but there's a bunch of really great character development that he receives in Return of the King. Especially, like, this is always just going to stick with me. It's been living rent-free in my head for a while, but just him and Eowyn when they're about to ride a couple of days straight to Pelennor, how Mary's just outlining how it's like, I'm just a hobbit. I can't really do all that much, okay? But, you know, I just want to help my friends, okay? I want to be there and I want to defend the Shire. It's like, that's just potent little character work, and the fact that that is a deleted scene makes me hate the theatrical version of Return of the King. It's still a masterpiece, but it's so wild recently running back the theatrical cuts of all of those movies and just seeing what's not there. It's a really jarring experience because a lot of the great character work that's there outside of the stuff in Fangorn Forest, it's all quintessential storytelling. And that is something that we haven't got for a very, very, very long time in Star Wars, bro. Outside of Andor's Season 1 and Season 2, it's just been Dave Filoni banging together his favorite action figures. And now with Andor wrapping up, it's likely what we're going to be returning to, because yeah, you're not going to get anything, right? Because Mandalorian Season 3, because everybody still loves Mandalorian Season 1, right? Everybody still remembers, you know, Luke Skinwalker coming in at the conclusion of Season 2. Oh my God, that was so great, right? He looks a little bit funky, and yeah, he didn't say anything. He was totally acting out of character of Luke Skywalker, but oh my God, he was Dave Filoni was bringing Star Wars back because they made Luke Skywalker swing his green glow stick around, and you know, he cut up troopers, because that's what Luke Skywalker does. It's kind of like how J.J. Abrams said that Han Solo is the guy with the gun. Like, bro, this is what's saving Star Wars. Some fun guy in a cowboy hat. He's really bringing back Star Wars. You know, making Ahsoka Tano, the fucking face of Star Wars, gag me with one of those stupid Shoto lightsabers for the Ronin of outer space. Shut your fucking mouth, you pathetic fucking freak. Yeah, between Filoni and John, allow me to explore my Jewish heritage in Mandalorian Season 3. That's all of that Return to Mandalore stuff, was him being able to delve into his Jewish roots. You can go ahead. The interviews are out there. That's exactly what that was. Just don't mind the wild crocagator and suddenly pterodactyl episodes, which I guess that probably draws comparisons to like stone golems or something like that, but I don't know, man. That's what we're going to be getting, because after Andor, what do you get? Mandalorian and Grogu. That's going to be so fantastic. Or maybe the idiot that brought you Deadpool and Wolverine. Again, somebody else who could just bash together action figures. Sean Levy. Yeah, he's really going to do something with old fucking wonky-eyed Ryan Gosling. Star Wars Starfighters, another inspired title for a movie. Like, don't get it twisted, okay? Nobody's watching Andor, which is a goddamn shame. Hopefully, like I said, you know, it has in fact stuck the landing. I truly do hope that that is the case, and that word of mouth, now that the season and the series is wrapped up, it's going to get a second look that it so justly deserves. But yes, going back to an actual creative, Andor creator says, yes, Star Wars series is not a commentary on modern politics. Any parallels the results of the repeating patterns of revolution and authoritarianism. Exactly, man, because those are universals, and you can apply them to a whole bunch of things, but apparently, yeah, you know, oppressive government has to be something anti-Trump. Like, just stop. Contrary to what many fans have taken away from the title character's latest adventures, Andor creator and showrunner Tony Gilroy says that he did not intend for the Star Wars series to be taken as a specific commentary on current real-world politics, but rather as a commentary on the cycles of revolution and authoritarianism, and defined the human existence since its very beginning. Exactly. Gilroy, whose time working at Lucasfilm's a once great franchise, has also seen him serve as a co-writer of Rogue One, offered a clarification regarding Disney Plus' series' narrative intentions while speaking to Variety's Adam B. Vary ahead of the series' on May 13th finale. Pressed by Vary as to how it felt to see people drawing so many current real-world parallels to the show, Gilroy explained that any such commentary in Andor is purely coincidental, particularly as its tumultuous production period led to its release being significantly delayed. Because, yeah, a lot of this stuff was written and rewritten, and I know it's a foreign concept over at Lucasfilm, but yeah, Tony Gilroy actually redrafted a bunch of the stuff that he worked on. It's just a shame that he decided to keep his son and that stupid rebel subplot in the first arc going. But anyways, well, the show was supposed to come out a long time ago, but for the strikes, recalled the writer behind the first 4 Bourne films. Really? Okay, and the digestive process of bringing something from your desk to an audience is a pretty long process. Usually, you're carbon-14 dating what happened rather than being prescient. Yeah, exactly, because, okay, cool, if this was written under the guise of, a commentary on modern politics, yeah, when it was written, cast your mind back, 2-3 years ago, what was the government that was in charge? Oh, right. Maybe Tony Gilroy is a little bit more base than we're giving him credit for. Continuing, Gilroy then confirmed to Vary. So this sounds like an answer, okay, one that is pure PR fluff and not meant to dodge controversy, but it's the truth. The repeating patterns of revolution and authoritarianism, and all the attendant things that go with that are just a replicate. Exactly, and because he gave that very obvious clarification, it wasn't quite the same soundbite or headline that the likes of the Hollywood Reporter could run with at the time that, Arc 1 dropped, and it was just the whole, oh my god, Bix said the word rape, and therefore we need to start running around with our hair on fire about how that doesn't need to be in Star Wars, okay? And how Tony Gilroy, when he was explaining, the importance of that scene, and then also, describing that, tyrannical empires kind of do some crazy shit. He was a little bit more eloquent about his description than I am, but obviously I'm just paraphrasing, and there are certain tactics that necessarily aren't off the table. So if you can trace back your lineage, you or one of your ancestors were very much you were likely the offspring of some very non-consensual conception. We could just go ahead and say that. I think you can get my gist of it. But yeah, what was the headline? Oh, Tony Gilroy says that we're all products of grape. And it's like, oh, fantastic stuff. It just gave the people that were already against the show enough ammunition to totally be against it and say that, Star Wars is dead, it's just boring, and bore. Girl boss, woke, whatever the fuck else you want to put on top of it. But no, Tony Gilroy is out here actively trying to lay the blueprint because he knows his time's up. He's not going to be back at Star Wars, and there's maybe there are some creatives that are out there that want to do something with this very vast galaxy. Okay, maybe there is a creative that is out there that wants to play in the sandbox that George Lucas made all of those years ago and wants to do something creative with it, instead of having to be hamstrung by a fucking idiot. Tony Gilroy rewrites a Filoni's Rebels canon because, it's so funny, right? You want to point that out. Oh, see, Tony Gilroy's the Star Wars fan. He's contradicting the canon, bro. Take a look at what Dave Filoni writes, and Dave Filoni contradicts Dave Filoni's canon in Andor Season 2 and doesn't hold back. We're hijacking canon. You fucking well right, you better. A pivotal moment in Tony Gilroy's Andor Season 2. I may have overwritten a pivotal moment from Dave Filoni's Star Wars Rebels. Quiet feud inside Lucasfilm may not be so quiet anymore. Following a recent podcast that exposed Filoni's alleged gatekeeping of the Star Wars franchise, Andor showrunner Tony Gilroy is making it clear he's not playing by Filoni's rules. In fact, he's rewriting them. An interview with Entertainment Weekly reveals that Andor Season 2 directly rewrites a major canon event from Rebels, a series created and overseen by Dave Filoni, which is trash from all accounts. The incident in question is the Gorman Massacre and Mon Mothma's iconic speech denouncing Emperor Palpatine, a pivotal moment in the founding of the Rebel Alliance. Yeah, this is just her, because apparently in Rebels, she referred to it as the Gorman Massacre, and in Andor, she referred to it as the Gorman Genocide. So we're hijacking canon, Gilroy admitted in the Entertainment Weekly, referencing the original Rebels episode in canon. She's recused by the Gold Squadron, and the speech that they give in the cartoon, which was a canonical show. And Danny's like, "Do I have to stick to this fucking speech?" The line says it all. Yeah, exactly. Because if it's written by Dave Filoni, it's written in crayon and fucking drool because he's a cocksucking idiot. But just to go back to this line right here, Alleged gatekeeping of the Star Wars franchise. Well, this is why we're not going to get anything new, because he's the chief creative officer, and therefore, Ahsoka's going to become the main character of Star Wars moving forward, and you guys don't have to worry about those really problematic themes. You won't have to think about anything that, a tyrannical empire will be capable of. We could just go back to making stormtroopers goofy because one of them bonked their head in 1977, so that means that Star Wars has always been goofy. A bombshell allegation is making the rounds in the entertainment world, one that might finally explain the creative logjam at Lucasfilm. According to a new report, Dave Filoni could be gatekeeping Star Wars, rejecting pitches that don't align with his vision of what Star Wars should be. Yeah, because of all of the slop that is out there that people love for a week that is created by Filoni, the only thing that has a lasting legacy is Andor Season 1. Hopefully the same fate befalls Season 2 justifiably, and it's not just by a bunch of fucking freaks that love all of the Lucasfilm stuff for a minute until the next Lucasfilm thing comes out. How many of these people are still singing the praises of Skeleton Crew? Remember, that came out, not but 6 months ago? Yeah, exactly. Nobody does. On a recent episode of House of R podcast, Joanna Robinson, a pop culture commentator and podcaster with industry access, dropped a major claim. According to her, multiple insiders say Andor, the critically acclaimed series from Tony Gilroy, is disliked by many within Lucasfilm. Gee, it's not dissimilar to what's happening over at the DCU, because recently we had the rumor that Matt Reeves is off the Batman 2. Then you had James Gunn, who I don't believe for as far as I can throw him, coming out and saying no, he's still on the project. Even though from insiders and those close to him, he's very vocal about hating everything that Matt Reeves does, even his critically acclaimed Penguin series that he was simply, I think, an EP on or a showrunner for, but a chick who's responsible for Chuck, a series that I love, she was the writer for it, and I forget her name, and forgive me for that one, because she did an absolute banger on that one. But yeah, James Gunn very much wants to roll up everything that Matt Reeves is doing, because that's a holdover, and it's overshining his fucking flop in the making that is Superman, and preventing him from casting a Batman that is just this shit's gonna be ass. But anyways, the reason, yes, it doesn't fit Dave Filoni's narrow definition of what Star Wars should be. Wow, it's kind of like the fans that are out there. Oh, Andor is in Star Wars. Wow, imagine that. Like, outside of contradicting one stupid speech from a cartoon show, you have Andor getting hairstyles and costumes that are accurate to the time frame that they're in, paying homage to previous characters that are in the place. Okay, bringing in Bail Organa, an arc before he's important to the plot, just because they wanted to establish that he was there working behind the scenes and making it adhere to canon. The series that is more true and more honest to actual Star Wars canon than everything else gets levied with the accusation that it isn't Star Wars. Meanwhile, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau sword fighting out there in the middle of nowhere with a wee-oo sound in the background, stupid Baby Yoda getting thrown around the fucking puppet up in the light fixtures. That's Star Wars. Makes me sick to my fucking stomach. And because of that, pitches that take the franchise in fresh directions are allegedly getting blocked before they even get off the ground. I have heard from so many people who have gone into pitch to Lucasfilm and that have not made it past the Filoni wall, and Gilroy sort of snuck his way around via his relationship with Kathleen Kennedy. Robinson calls it the Filoni wall, and it paints a disturbing picture of a creative bottleneck where one man's preference are dictating the future of a billion-dollar franchise. Well, at one point in time, it was a billion-dollar franchise. Can't wait to see that Mandalorian and Grogu fucking slop film that comes out, and it makes exactly... I'm thinking that might be lucky. It might be lucky to make Thunderbolts money. Okay, and that's coming out about a year from now. A year from now, we're ultimately going to see what Dave Filoni's vision, when it's properly realized on the silver screen, what that's going to look like. And you think, okay, even if Jon Favreau's vision fails, Dave Filoni is still going to be going full steam ahead on his stupid Mandoverse wrap-up movie. And then when that makes considerably less money than Mandalorian and Grogu, who's he going to have to blame? Kathleen Kennedy, and finally fucking toss her ass out on the street so he can get the big chair? Well, that's nice. I'm sure it's probably already primed and ready for him, mostly because it has an Ahsoka Tano fist affixed to the seat. Fucking queer. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.